What is your "you have become the very thing you swore to destroy" moment? When I was an apprentice electrician, it always pissed me off when my journeyman would make me do the hard manual parts of a job while he did the easier but more technical work. I always swore that when I got my license and my first apprentice that I'd be different. That went out the window pretty quick. Pretty big fall for a GD. What can you expect from someone named Anakin_Skywalker? Mental masturbation. I was in a computer class in high school and would drive the teachers nuts. I even had the other kids mocking the teachers by shouting out on task whenever the teacher would start looking around to make sure we were working. I now teach a high school computer class. A student the other day stopped me before I could tell them to put their phone away and go back to work by saying I know, on task, on task. I was speechless and just left the student to return to my desk and rethink my life choices. Teacher was not a good student. 100% see me doing this every day, although I often think, damn, these guys are tame when I was their age. Then realizing that I'm so glad they are tame in comparison. I teach at my old high school. I'll literally have coworkers that have sent me to the principal's office before. Our teachers who randomly walk by our noisy classroom would stop and say, "Is this a classroom or a market?" Then we would all settle down. 3 years after school I visited the school and the staff room was noisy with the teachers getting ready for lunch, and I walked in and said, "Hey, is this a staff room or a market?" That was so satisfying. How did they react? Most of them were confused and couldn't recognize me, but my PT, physical training, teacher was like, you're never too old to run a few laps around the ground till you puke. He once made me run around the school ground till I puked. Close bracket. I spent a full year living with 4 roommates, one of whom left every pantry door open. I spent months and months trying to catch her in the act. Moved out to my own place. Found out it was me all along. Like a horror movie, the doors are being left open from inside the house. My mom has always been an aggressive, impatient, and in-your-face driver. It drove me nuts as a kid growing up and getting driven around by her. So I swore to myself that I would be the most chill driver ever when that day came. I have now been driving for 3 years and often catch myself being very impatient on the road. My couch has no less than 8 decorative pillows on it. I'm a monster. This is the worst one. 2 years ago I was an electrician's apprentice. The safety guy would always get on to me about being unsafe, and I'd hate it. I always thought of him as an overpaid, underworked D-head. Turns out I was right. Now I'm an overpaid, underworked D-head, and it's awesome. The checks are amazing, and the work is light as hell. Electricity is no joke. I dropped a 400W halide light into a salt water tank when I was shoulder deep moving stuff around. Terrifying, man. I locked up for what felt like minutes and only barely pulled myself out of the tank by the grace of God. My wife was in the room with me, and I'm just glad she didn't touch me to pull me out. Reading this the first time I pictured a pool you were up to your shoulders in, but you're talking about your arm in a fish tank, right? Yup, right arm in salt water up to shoulder. Standing barefooted on carpet that was a tad damp from working on the tank. Complaining to my son about him playing too much video games. Complaining to my son about him playing too much video games. Jealous? I'm imagining this in the voice of John Lovitz. It stinks. If I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. Who are all you people? Apostrophe. When I set up the website blocker on the company network, I spent so much of my childhood trying to get around those blockers at school, and now I'm the one setting it up. Edit. Admittedly, I'm not so evil as to block things for being categorized as tasteless like my school did. It's really just porn and illegal things. But I still feel slimy for doing it. Edit 2. Also, so be clear, I don't work at a school. My company does, however, employ a lot of salesmen, and they're basically children. So, those weren't blockers. Those are training programs. As I always mention to my clients, there are no perfect defense, only resistance. When there are people who can hack into DARPA, there is nothing can be done to stop them hacking your company system. You can only make it difficult. I just want to say, Reading about DARPA's Try and Hack DARPA program led to an hour-long rabbit hole of reading about hacking humans, and I do not recommend this particular hole. It's dark and scary. I told my friends' kids they could have a toy if they didn't fight over it, and if they fought I would take it back. They agreed, then proceeded immediately fight over it. When I turned around, without any conscious input from my brain, I span back and heard myself exclaim, "What did I just say?" And suddenly I was my mother. One day I hope you have children that act just like you. The mother's curse. I have always said that if I ever get a time machine I would grab my daughter and travel back to the moment my mom said that and introduce my teen daughter to her, then leave her with my mom and teen me. This is going to end in a recursive cycle wherein your poor mother ends up with an infinite number of misbehaving teens. A well-formulated revenge. Then, I make commercials for a living. I hate commercials to the core of my soul. Ugh dude, same. I got hired as an animator at an agency not too long ago, so I figured I'd be doing lots of fun and flashy animations. I don't mind making commercials, so long as they've got interesting visuals, which is something I greatly enjoy doing. I've been making glorified PowerPoints about Medicare ever since I got hired. I've frequently received feedback to literally make it less fun. A project I made 2 years ago, a fun and flashy internal use video, is getting a new iteration that I'll be doing soon. The old version made setting up web pages and product descriptions look interesting. They said they didn't like it and to have less fun with it, so I plan on being spiteful and making it awful to sit through. The problem with that is that I know that's exactly what they want. I'm reminded of the Pixies from Fairly Odd Parents, and how Timmy and the gang are the exciting antithesis of the drab corporate culture the Pixies represent. I didn't think I'd become one. Lord help me. Edit. To be clear, I understand branding and that sort of thing are very important to follow extremely closely, which includes visual flair or lack thereof. But I became an animator to make interesting motion, and I've done next to zero of that, and it's been driving me crazy. In my early 20s I went to art college. I made a piece called Payday, the subject of which was 3 sad, balding middle-aged men with potbellies in corporate attire. It was a commentary on an unrewarding corporate life and the pursuit of money I never wanted to live. 30 years later, I'm a senior corporate leader with a potbelly and a bald spot, and the picture I made in art college is hanging in the front hall of my slightly less than modest home. I love my job and everything that corporate life has given me, though I wish I could lose the potbelly and grow back the long grunge hair I had back then. Edit. The picture that several people have requested. https://picman.com/p/s37dsrd. It's not that great, and probably one of many reasons I didn't become the great artist I aspired to be. Also, I'm pretty active with activities like skiing and mountain biking. I just like beer and whiskey and hot dogs more than I like salads. Edit 2. Thank you for the compliments on the artwork. You're all very kind people with great taste in art. I wish I could lose the potbelly and grow back the long grunge hair I had back then. The good news is that one of these things is very possible. With enough of that corporate cash they both are. I hated wearing polos because my mom always talked about how nice this other person's son looked wearing polos. I now wear polos to work every day because it's the easiest way to dress business casual. They're pretty much just fancy t-shirts. Same for me but with jeans. Stretch khakis are great, as are the business casual Skechers that are essentially fancy slippers. I literally wear chinos almost every day in my business casual environment. It's great. What exactly is the difference between slacks and chinos? If I may, either I'm dumb or I'm too poor to shop anywhere that sells them. When I was 16 I wanted to be in a famous band like Blink 182, have my own art studio, and destroy the concept of the 9-to-5. I have my own art studio in my home but now I work for a bank and process loans in a 9-to-5. I was at work today realizing how I have become the Sith. It does sound like an absolute. Only a Sith deals in absolutes really. Absolutely. When I first started my career in maintenance 28 years ago, all the senior mechanic did was sit inside his shop, be and moan about people breaking and soak up cushy repairs on equipment and machinery we could bring to him inside his heated building while myself and the other guys busted our FRS swinging sledgehammers, welding, and lugging tools out into the freezing rain to make repairs. What a worthless piece of s. After nearly 30 years of swinging sledgehammers, busting my hump out in the cold, pounding rivets and beating steel, I think I've earned the right to sit in my shop while these punkanubers who barely know which end of the screwdriver to hold in their soft, unscarred hands take their turn out in the freezing rain. Especially since they keep breaking s. That would work fine if they would only take care of it and stop abusing equipment. Oh my god. Growing up, my dad hated going out. When we went on church outings, we were always the first family to leave. He just wanted to stay in and read the paper or watch TV. I vowed to never be as boring as him when I got older. Now that I'm older, nothing makes me happier than when plans get cancelled and I can just chill at home and not worry about the commute or how much money I'd have to spend going out. Even if it's something I'm looking forward to, like a band I really wanna see, part of me still wants to not go because of how crappy the late night commute will be. Something about plans being cancelled is so relieving. It's like, well, I've done all I can to be social. No more pressure today, which I know is probably not healthy, but damn it feels good lol. I think it's because you are suddenly gifted with actual free time. Time that was about to, until the point the event gets cancelled, be used for that event. Now suddenly hours have just been given to you to do whatever you want. I didn't mind it, but I was brought up strict. Dad was all about discipline, honor, timeliness, reliability, and never, ever giving a compliment or praise that lasted more than 3 syllables. For if you did a really, really good job, I always promised myself I wouldn't just be my dad too. The daddening. I love the guy to pieces, but I just didn't want to be the same way. I wanted to be more relaxed, jovial, maybe even possibly able to chill on the odd occasion. Now I help teach at a dojo that's in a somewhat upper crusty area and have to regularly and very carefully tell some of the weenie hut juniors in the kids class to get their act together, fall in, quit sobbing on the ground, and walk it off, etc. We have some other much more good cop instructors. So my job is being the hammer, although it really feels more like being the half-inflated balloon hammer you could win from a Chuck E. Cheese's to me. One of my friends, a fellow instructor who's 1 year older than me and several years more experienced in martial arts, grew up with an absolute sack of S for a father. He happened to be walking by when I was complimenting one of the kids for actually doing a really good job with one of the drills. Very good. Continue. Issued forth my dad's exact tone, but from my voice. They both looked at me with slightly moistened eyes and a brief look of unfiltered hope and rare, joyous recognition. For a couple minutes there, I had 2 foster sons. Edit. Just gonna throw this out there, and I'm not going to argue or debate on it. But, for all you truly enlightened, golden-hearted folk out there worried about all electric squid being a militant assault to the poor injured children's, here's a few things to put your mind at ease. 1. Most of these kids are playing around, not getting actually hurt. We are not having them kick through bricks and punch manila rope. They are doing forms and working with each other in over-padded sparring gear. They're also under the supervision of several instructors and also often their parents, ready to assist should they be hurt or do something possibly dangerous. 9 times out of 10, they are goofing off and stub a toe or fall and scrape their elbows. 2. Drill instructor squid is only unleashed upon the ones for whom good cops 1 and 2 did not work on, and even I approach with kindness before acquiring discipline. This is mostly for misconduct / disrespectfulness towards other students. 3. While I'm all about people processing their feelings and pain on their own terms, their parents aren't paying us to be a daycare. Too much time away from the mat and instruction, and it becomes not worth the price of tuition. We are very careful to support the students and have first aid trained instructors ready to care for any injuries, etc. But you ostensibly signed your kid up to learn controlled violence. There's a waiver and everything. Also, if the kid's feelings are that hurt, they can leave at any time. We'll help them call their parents and make sure they're comfortable and attended to while they wait. We are martial artists, not monsters. Hope you enjoyed the story, and be assured that I do not scream at kids with shattered bones to keep kicking. I started my own company to fight the system and avoid a corporate bullshit job, then raised money, hired tons of people, and my life is literally nothing but corporate bullshit. When people are outside the system it seems so easy and straightforward to not have or deal with. Then when you get into it, and it hurts so damn much. Solution: reject modernity, return to hunter-gathering. I was making pasta for my sister and got mad because she wouldn't stop staring at her phone to eat. I had somehow become my mother. That is very effing relatable. Watch your mouth, young man. Looking at the work of an intern and wanted to scream at him. I don't understand. Been doing this the same way for a decade. Why did you have to mess with it? I looked into this already when you were still in middle school. All you had to do was look on the server to find the solution to this problem. Thankfully I caught myself before speaking. As an intern who understands 30% of what comes out of my team's mouths, this haunts me. In my teen years I was a free living, no plans or aspirations type of person. You know, go with the flow a job type, and always thought I'd be that way. Now I work 7 to 3:30 every day, meal prep, go to the gym, and generally like to have a routine. The only reason I knew this wasn't my own comment was because I work slightly different hours. But otherwise, same. When I was a teenager I was adamant and pretty contemptuous about it that I would not work in an office and do the soul-crushing 9 to 5 nonsense. My first full-time job at 19 was working in an office, 9 to 5. 30, did that for 15 years. Then got a 9 to 5 office job and been doing that ever since. I also go to the gym, meal prep, shop for food, and I have a greenhouse with little seedlings that I'm inordinately excited about. Edit, typo. When I'm a sergeant, I'm never going to yell at anyone. Apostrophe. Based on your username I just imagine a drill sergeant with a bucket on his head yelling in a slightly muffled voice. Full Metal Sergeant. Full Metal Bucket. There's a bunch of middle schoolers who skip school very often in my neighborhood and destroy property on a regular basis. Had a few getting into a fight and ran into my car in my driveway. I had a full-on rated R version of Get Off My Lawn. My brother was randomly and violently assaulted by some guys leaving a bar, so I went back every night for a week, armed and ready to find the guys responsible, follow them home and kill them. I'm hunting at the bar one night, and suddenly the bartender hands me a double shot of whiskey and says, "You look like you could use this." I wasn't expecting a free drink, and the interaction made me sort of snap out of it and realize I'd become just another piece of criminal if I carried out my revenge plan. Went home, put away my weapon, and checked on my brother. Damn, that bartender really saved you from not only possibly killing someone, but you going to prison with someone's death on your conscience.